The cold steel corridors of Earth's interstellar command hummed with quiet tension. Captain J. Park stood motionless, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic communication display. The message was clear, but its implications were anything but simple. A royal alien princess would be transferred to his direct supervision. Not as a guest, not as a diplomat, but as a disciplinary case that no other military commander had successfully managed. The Keldorian Empire's most problematic royal was about to become his personal responsibility. Jay's fingers traced the mission details. Princess Hana Kim, third daughter of the Keldorian High Council, had a reputation that preceded her like a storm cloud. Multiple diplomatic incidents, 3 rejected peace treaties, and a trail of political chaos that stretched across 3 star systems. Her actions had created diplomatic tensions that threatened interstellar stability. The transport vessel approached Earth's orbital station with precision. Jay watched the incoming data streams, analyzing every piece of information about his new charge. Her file was a masterpiece of diplomatic disaster. Reports of unauthorized military interventions, cultural provocations, and a complete disregard for established galactic protocols. As the docking sequence completed, Jay could see her through the transparent airlocks. Princess Hana Kim was nothing like he expected. Younger than the report suggested, she carried herself with a mixture of royal arrogance and barely contained rebellion. Her alien physiology was subtly different from humans, slightly taller, with skin that had a faint iridescent quality that shifted under different light angles. "Welcome to Earth's rehabilitation program," Jay said, his voice professional and measured. Hana's response was a look that could freeze molten metal. No words, just pure contempt. The initial processing was standard military procedure. Biometric scans, security protocols, and a comprehensive medical evaluation. Each step seemed to irritate the princess more than the last. She didn't resist, but her body language screamed defiance. Jay understood the game. This wasn't just about disciplining a royal troublemaker. This was a delicate diplomatic dance that could impact relationships between 2 entire civilizations. The Keldorian Empire had essentially exiled their own princess, hoping Earth's military discipline could succeed where their own systems had failed. "You will follow every instruction," Jay explained, walking her through the initial briefing room. "Your previous actions have created significant diplomatic complications. This is not a vacation. This is a chance to understand the consequences of your choices." Hana's first words were unexpected. "Humans think they understand diplomacy. You understand nothing." The challenge was clear. She wasn't going to make this easy. The rehabilitation program was designed to be comprehensive. Military training, cultural immersion, diplomatic protocol reconstruction. Every aspect of her previous approach would be systematically challenged and rebuilt. Jay had been chosen for this mission for specific reasons. His record was impeccable. Multiple successful diplomatic interventions, a deep understanding of cross-cultural communications, and a reputation for turning impossible situations into strategic opportunities. As they entered the primary training complex, rows of human and alien personnel watched silently. This was more than a personal mission. This was a test of human capability to manage interstellar diplomatic challenges. Princess Hana Kim carried herself like royalty, but Jay could see beneath the surface. There was intelligence there, a complexity that went beyond her file's description. She wasn't just a rebellious royal. She was a product of a complex political system that few truly understood. The first day would set the tone for everything that followed, and Jay Park was prepared for anything. Anything, except perhaps the true story that was about to unfold. "Would you like me to continue with the next part or refine this section further?" The training ground stretched before them like an unforgiving landscape of steel and challenge. Captain J. Park watched as Princess Hana Kim approached the first physical assessment station, her movements deliberate and controlled. "Standard, human military training begins now," Jay announced, his voice calm but firm. Hana's first mistake was underestimation. She believed royal training had prepared her for any physical challenge. The obstacle course looked simple, a combination of climbing walls, endurance tracks, and strength tests designed to push human soldiers to their limits. Her first attempt was a disaster. The climbing wall proved unexpectedly challenging. Alien physiology, while similar to humans, had different muscle groups and balance points. Hana struggled, her royal pride making each failure more painful. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her breathing becoming ragged. Jay observed silently. This wasn't just about physical training. It was about breaking down mental barriers. "You can. Stop if it's too difficult," he said, knowing exactly how she would respond. Hana's eyes flashed with defiance. "Royalty does not quit," she growled, pulling herself up another section of the wall. By midday, her uniform was torn, her body covered in bruises and dirt. The other training personnel watched with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Many had heard about the alien princess, but few had seen her in action. The combat simulation came next. Virtual enemies appeared, testing reaction times and strategic thinking. Hana's initial approach was typical of her previous reports. Aggressive, direct with little consideration for complex strategy. Jay's training system responded immediately. Each of her aggressive moves was countered, each strategy dismantled with clinical precision. "Diplomacy is not just about force," Jay explained during a brief break. "It's about understanding, adaptation, and intelligent response." Hana's frustration grew. Her royal training had prepared her for political manipulation, not this systematic deconstruction of her capabilities. The day's final test was a psychological assessment, communication challenges, problem-solving scenarios that tested not just physical ability, but mental flexibility. Hana discovered that her previous approaches were fundamentally flawed. "Your empire's diplomatic methods are outdated," Jay stated during the review. "You create conflict where cooperation could exist." Something shifted in Hana's understanding. This wasn't punishment. This was education. As sunset approached, Jay noticed something changing. The defiance in Hana's eyes was transforming. No longer pure anger, but a growing respect for the process. "Tomorrow will be harder," he warned. Hana's response surprised him. "I am prepared," she said, and for the first time her voice carried genuine determination. The training facility's lights dimmed. Another day of diplomatic rehabilitation completed. But this was just the beginning. In her quarters, Hana reviewed the day's data. Her previous mission reports, her diplomatic history. Everything looked different now. The humans weren't just militarily strong, they were strategically intelligent. Outside her window, Earth's night sky glimmered with possibility. Something was changing. Not just in her training, but in her entire understanding of interstellar relationships. Jay Park reviewed the day's assessment reports. Princess Hana Kim was not just a problem to be solved. She was a complex individual with potential waiting to be unlocked. The real challenge was just beginning. "Would you like me to continue with the next part, or refine this section further?" The alarm screamed through the space station's corridors. Red emergency lights painted everything in harsh warning colors. Captain Jay Park moved with practiced speed, his hand automatically reaching for standard combat gear. Princess Hana Kim was already dressed, her recent training evident in her quick movements. The rogue Martian Confederacy had launched a sudden attack, something no one had predicted. Their command ship shuddered. External sensors showed multiple attack vectors approaching from different directions. This wasn't a simple skirmish. This was a calculated assault designed to break Earth's defensive perimeter. "We have approximately 12 minutes before primary systems collapse," Hana said, analyzing the holographic battle display with surprising calm. Jay looked at her, surprised. Her royal training was showing through. Precise information, no panic. Their assigned combat station was a small tactical control room. Standard protocol suggested separation, but something unexpected happened. Instead of working independently, they began communicating with a synchronicity that surprised them both. Hana's knowledge of Confederacy attack patterns combined perfectly with Jay's strategic human military training. Each movement, each decision became a collaborative dance of survival. "Their third attack wave will target the central communication hub," Hana predicted, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Jay's response was immediate. Redirect. Auxiliary power to defensive shields. Prepare counter-frequency disruption. Their communication was no longer about royal status or military hierarchy. It was pure survival, pure strategy. The ship rocked again. External hull integrity was dropping. Mechanical sounds of stress echoed through metal corridors. Lesser-trained teams would have panicked. They remained focused. Hana discovered something unexpected about herself. Her previous diplomatic confrontations had been about creating chaos. This was about preventing it. Jay saw something remarkable in the alien princess. Beyond the rebellious, reputation was a sharp, calculating intelligence that could turn potential defeat into survival. Their combined strategy began working. The Confederacy attack waves started experiencing unexpected resistance. Systems they believed would be easy. Targets suddenly became complex, unpredictable challenges. Redirecting plasma cannons, Hana said, her voice steady. Confirmed. Targeting synchronized, Jay responded. 3 critical moments defined their unexpected alliance. First, when Hana predicted an incoming missile trajectory. Second, when Jay developed an instant counter-frequency to disrupt enemy communication networks. Third, their joint decision to use an unconventional counterattack that nobody would expect. The battle lasted 47 intense minutes. When silence finally returned, their command ship remained operational, barely, but intact. Surrounding stations began sending communication requests, damage reports, survival confirmations. Hana and Jay looked at each other. Something fundamental had changed between them. No longer an instructor and a problematic royal. They were now teammates, survivors. Impressive, Jay said simply. Hana's response was a slight smile, the first genuine smile she had shown since arriving on Earth. The medical team would later confirm something remarkable. Their joint strategy had not just saved their ship, they had minimized casualties across the entire defensive line. Outside, stars continued their silent watch. Another conflict resolved, another diplomatic challenge transformed. The rogue Martian Confederacy would think twice before attacking again. Would you like me to continue with the next part, or refine this section further? The recovery bay was quiet. Soft medical equipment hummed in the background. Jay Park sat reviewing mission logs, his eyes occasionally drifting to Hana Kim's recovery bed. Their recent battle had changed everything. The medical staff worked silently, monitoring both of their conditions after the intense space combat. Hana was the first to break the silence. My people will not understand what happened today. Jay looked up, curious. Her statement carried more weight than simple words. Tell me, he said, setting down the digital reports. Her story unfolded slowly. The Keldorian royal system was complex, built on generations of strict political traditions. Her previous diplomatic incidents were not random, acts of rebellion, but calculated attempts to challenge a system she believed was fundamentally broken. Each action I took was a message, Hana explained. Not chaos, but resistance. The medical scanner beeped softly, measuring her stress levels as she spoke. Her culture valued political manipulation over direct communication. Every diplomatic incident was a carefully constructed message that her own government refused to understand. Jay listened. His military training had taught him to analyze information carefully. What seemed like random rebellious actions were actually sophisticated political communications. Your empire misunderstood your intentions, he concluded. Hana nodded. The first genuine connection between them was forming, not as military instructor and royal prisoner, but as two individuals understanding each other's complex worlds. Her most significant diplomatic incident involved preventing a trade agreement that would have destroyed 3 smaller planetary systems. What appeared as a provocative action was actually a strategic intervention to protect vulnerable populations. They called me a troublemaker, she said, a hint of pain in her voice. I was trying to protect those who could not protect themselves. Outside the medical bay, Earth's space defense continued its routine operations. But inside this small room, Two very different individuals were discovering something profound about each other. Jay's perspective of the alien princess was transforming. She wasn't just a royal problem to be managed. She was a complex political strategist who had been misunderstood by her own system. "Your methods were extreme," Jay said, "but your intentions were not wrong." The medical team moved quietly, checking equipment, monitoring vital signs. They understood something significant was happening. Beyond physical recovery, a deeper understanding was emerging. Hannah spoke about her family's political structure, layers of tradition, expectations, and unspoken rules that suffocated genuine diplomatic progress. Her actions were a form of internal resistance, a way to challenge a system that had become too rigid to adapt. "Humans are different," she observed. "Your military respects strategic thinking, even when it challenges existing structures." Jay appreciated her observation. Military training was about adaptation, about finding solutions beyond traditional thinking. Their conversation continued through the night. Medical monitors tracked their increasing comfort, their developing mutual respect. What began as a disciplinary assignment was becoming something much more complex. A shared understanding was forming, not just between two individuals, but potentially between two entire civilizations. The medical staff exchanged knowing glances. Something remarkable was happening in this quiet recovery room. Outside, stars continued their silent journey. Unmoved by the human and alien conversation that might change interstellar relationships forever, Hannah looked at Jay, her eyes reflecting a newfound respect. "Perhaps," she said softly, "we are not so different after all." Jay's response was a simple smile. The beginning of something new was taking shape. "Would you like me to continue with the next part or refine this section further?" The diplomatic hall was silent. Representatives from multiple star systems watched with intense curiosity. Princess Hannah Kim stood at the center, her posture transformed from rebellion to strategic confidence. Captain J. Park stood nearby, a silent supporter of her mission. Months of training had changed everything. The once problematic royal was now preparing to negotiate a treaty that could reshape interstellar relationships. Her presentation was calculated, precise, and revolutionary. "Our previous approaches have failed," Hannah began. Her voice carried the weight of diplomatic experience and newfound understanding. The Keldorian delegation looked uncomfortable. They had sent her away as a problem. She was returning as a solution. Her proposal was simple but groundbreaking. A new framework for diplomatic relations that considered the needs of smaller planetary systems. No more complex political manipulations. Direct, transparent communication. Earth's diplomatic council listened carefully. Jay could see the subtle changes in her approach, lessons learned during her rehabilitation. Gone was the aggressive royal. In her place stood a strategic communicator. One by one, planetary representatives began to show interest. Her proposal wasn't just a treaty. It was a completely new way of thinking about interstellar relationships. The Keldorian High Council representatives looked shocked. Their rebellious princess was dismantling their entire diplomatic approach with surgical precision. Jay watched, silently. He understood what was happening. This wasn't just a diplomatic negotiation. This was a revolution. Hours passed. Discussions became intense. Hannah remained calm, answering each question with a combination of royal training and human-taught strategic thinking. When the final vote came, the result was unexpected. Unanimous agreement. The treaty would protect smaller planetary systems, create transparent communication channels, and establish a new framework for interstellar diplomacy. "How did you do this?" one council member asked during a break. Hannah's response was simple. "I learned to listen. I learned to understand." Jay felt a sense of pride, not as an instructor, but as someone who had witnessed a complete transformation. The ceremony was formal. Official documents were signed. Planetary representatives shook hands, some for the first time in generations. Hannah's final act was unexpected. She requested her original diplomatic records be publicly reviewed. Complete transparency. No more hidden agendas. The Keldorian delegation was stunned. Their rebellious princess had not just been rehabilitated. She had become their most significant diplomatic asset. As celebrations began, Jay approached Hana. "Mission accomplished," he said quietly. Her response was a smile that carried years of complexity. "Not a mission," she corrected. "A new beginning." Outside, the diplomatic hall, Earth's skyline glimmered. Stars watched silently as two civilizations moved closer to understanding. The royal exile had become a diplomatic hero. Not through force, but through learning. Not through rebellion, but through understanding. Jay Park's training had done more than rehabilitate a princess. It had changed the course of interstellar relationships. As night fell, a new chapter in Defiant galactic diplomacy was being written, and it all started with an unexpected partnership between a human captain and an alien princess. The universe watched and waited. Would you like me to refine any part of this narrative or provide any additional details?